going on?
Lauren, thank you for coming on the Parables. Thank you for driving to the IE to sit down and chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man, you guys, Lauren, I don't want to take too much because I'd like her to introduce herself. But me and Lauren actually met back in St. Louis at an event, I think through Brian, who was on episode 2 at the time. Mm-hmm. And, since then, I've seen Lauren do amazing things. She's had immense growth. And, just to give a little background about her, she's a personal trainer, and she started a very, very amazing organization, Powerwolf Athletics. And, man, I can't wait to just sit down and chat and talk about everything that you're doing. Thanks. So here on the Parables, Lauren, I'm sure you have an idea, but really, we're just really here to sit down and, talk about everything about you, kind of highlight who you are and everything that you're doing today. Mm-hmm. And, of course, everything that you're, the message that you're trying to send out through your organization. Mm-hmm. So let's start off a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, and everything to go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here, Ejay. I really appreciate it. I founded Powerwolf Athletics, and I started, just a little backstory about it. So I've been in the fitness industry for about 4 years now. I have been a trainer for 2, and I've been powerlifting, and this year I've been powerlifting for 2, I've done 2 meets already. Well, the second meet is going to be in October. Mm-hmm. So I've been around the fitness industry for a while, and I started my trainer background when I was working at Gold's Gym. Okay. And later on, I decided to create something online. So my Instagram was starting to kind of take off, and I started thinking like, why don't I just become an online trainer? But just a little backstory on how Powerwolf actually began, because in order for you to understand what I truly do, it's important to understand like how I started and kind of the struggles that got me to where I am now.
Absolutely.
Because I think that this goes into building a brand, right? I never really thought of building a brand truly. I thought going into all of this and starting coaching online, it was really just out of my own struggles and desire for connection. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it snowballed into becoming what it is now with Powerwolf Athletics. So, I was training for 2 years, and a year and a half ago, I did a bikini competition. And
sounds like the good old days.
Yeah, so I did a bikini competition, and that was after a really difficult breakup. So I decided, usually after you break up with someone, you're like, all right, fuck it, let's go hard in the gym, let's look really shredded, let's look good.
Just do everything that you've been wanting to do, kind of like go out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up doing a bikini competition, and I had a coach that put me on a really strict meal plan, and I did a lot of cardio and all these things. I was in the gym like every single day, and I developed disordered eating, and mm-hmm. I didn't really think it was called disordered eating at that time because I developed like really extreme hunger. I was having a lot of anxiety around food, and I was like, what's going on? And I felt extremely embarrassed. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're a trainer, like you quote unquote should know what you're doing, and you shouldn't have these issues, right? And because I know exactly how to train myself, I know how to do diets, all these things, but I was feeling extremely lost during that time. And during this whole time, obviously, like I'm still posting stuff on Instagram, and like I'm looking really good, but everyone's just like, wow, you look great and everything. But deep down, like no one knew the struggles I was going through, which was like this issue with eating.
You're in a dark space. It's not like you're a professional and you were like preaching and teaching, but at the same time, you kind of had like this hidden issue going on. Yeah,
and that was really terrifying. I felt really alone. I couldn't tell anyone about it because binge eating it's I don't know if anyone listening has ever experienced before, but I know this is something that's very common. What happens is usually, your body is really taxed. You're already in a huge deficit, right? I'm already doing extreme cardio, extreme everything. Yeah. And I developed like extreme hunger where I couldn't control myself. When let's just say I saw a box of cookies, I can't just eat one anymore. Something just kind of takes over, and I feel like I need to eat like the whole box. Yeah. even though I'm really, really full, I can't stop eating. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Do I just not have enough discipline? Why can't I do this? Because again, I've been in the industry for a while and I'm a trainer. I should know this. Like, why are you so undisciplined, Lauren? And it was just a cycle of where I was beating myself up because I'm just like, you should know this stuff. And also you're on social media, and it was just everything that piled on where I just felt really, really alone. And it just made it even worse because I was going through cycles of overeating. And then the next day I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to make sure I run all this off, or I'll just starve myself and I'll be good.
Yeah.
You know, so that cycle just continued on and on for months. I went into my bikini competition. I wasn't as lean as I wanted to be. I felt really, really embarrassed. So it was just everything that piled on. And I think, this is actually, just to highlight, like, this is actually something that a lot of people in the fitness industry don't want to talk about, right? After a show, like after they get extremely lean, they look really good. After the show's over, they get first place, whatever, right? They end up just binge eating. They gain a ton of weight afterwards.
They go through a rebound.
Yes,
right? Yes.
It's extreme rebound, and it's just really terrifying because you see yourself looking really good. You work so hard for it, and then within a week, bam, like, you gain at least 20, 30 pounds.
It's like it's all gone. Everything you worked for almost kind of just...
Yeah, exactly. And that's... Yeah, so I was already in a really dark place. And, it's just really bad. And I finally told a friend about it. Obviously, she didn't understand. But, like, even on the phone while I was talking to her, I was like, I think I have this issue where I can't seem to stop eating.
Yeah.
And I just felt so ashamed telling her. And while I was on the phone, I was, I had protein bars, and at the time I was like binging on protein bars because I was like, it's supposed to be a clean food or whatever.
Yeah.
It's something that should work with my diet because I need more protein. So I ended up eating the entire box while I was on the phone with her, telling her about my issue because that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And even sitting here saying all that stuff, like it's a lot easier talking about it because I finally was able to open up to more people. A lot of people on my social media, they know about it. But in the beginning, it was so terrifying to talk about. And it was actually, my struggle. That was one of the things that made my story so powerful that a lot of people actually resonated with it. So when I actually started telling people on my Instagram about, hey guys, I'm actually going through something like this, I just decided to tell others because I felt maybe other people can relate to it, or maybe it's a way I can feel a little less alone about it.
Yeah.
And that's when everything just kind of took off, where people were actually reaching out and they actually got online clients and they're just saying, hey, I've been through this too. And it's really great because they can actually finally relate to me. And that's actually how I got it all started. But you wouldn't think that, like, I didn't think that would actually help me in any sense because I'm just like, shouldn't I be the expert and like be going through none of that kind of stuff? But I ended up, being able to start coaching some people online. And that's kind of like where the door is kind of opened.
Yeah.
You can jump in whenever you need to.
Oh, yeah. So I want to, so it sounds like I want to highlight something that I think are very important. One, there's no question, I think you would agree that there was definitely some physiological and mental breakdowns that were happening at the same time, right? Because obviously those two go hand in hand together, right?
Yeah.
Let's just go back real quick. I want to kind of, what kind of got you into fitness? Because I kind of feel like if you're, I'm sure you agree with me. I think everything happens for a reason, and like when you look back at your journey, it kind of like you see like this path going, and you see why you've become the person you are. And I can't wait to start, discussing the person you've become. Yeah. Because I see it. But let's talk about what got you into fitness a little bit. Was it always something you wanted to do? Like, did you like major, I don't know, in kinesiology or what? Yeah, like let's kind of like go there.
Yeah, no worries. So growing up, I was actually pretty athletic. And I used to do cross country in high school. I was also in choreo, so on the dance team. And I actually didn't get all throughout college. Once I got into college, I didn't do any kind of activity. I just partied a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my activity, dancing and drinking.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So I was around people who, they were really fun to be around, but I felt like I could be doing more. I don't know why I completely, I tried to turn over, I tried to be someone different in college because in high school I was really insecure. And yes, I was athletic, but I was very insecure with myself. And my parents never really let me out of the house anyways. So that's why in college I went a little crazy. So my last year of college, I decided, you know what, I need to do something different. I started dating someone new, and he introduced me to the gym. So I was like, okay, I never thought of going to the gym or anything like that, but then he introduced me to it, and I really got into it. Like, I started going 6 times a week. I stopped going to parties so much. I was affiliated with a Greek org too, but my friends were just like, what happened to you? Like, you're all of a sudden you're different, right? And so I had to go through that too, of where my friends weren't very accepting of this new lifestyle I had. Start eating better. I started to not drink as much, stop going out as much, and just got really, really focused on just going to the gym. So I think growing up, I've always had this, like, I've always been very driven. Like, if I give something my all, like, I always give it my all. And I'm very focused. So I think, in the first 3 years of college, I didn't really have that. I was kind of aimless, and I'm like, just party. And that's where I put all my attention, right?
Yeah. I think everyone did, right?
Yeah. It's funny because in the org that I was in, we had this banquet, and they gave me a certificate that said, a certificate for being the craziest little sis, because you're you have like a big bro and everything like that. So they said I was like one of the craziest ones, and I felt pretty proud of that. I was like, I'm really crazy, and that's not something to really be proud of. Like, I just got an award for it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Now I just look back, I'm just like, man, that was some interesting times in my life. But yeah, so that's why when I turned over a new leaf, people were just like, wow, they didn't know what to say. So
so is it safe to say it sounds like you were pretty active during high school, but then you started partying in college, which I did too. Before I got into my nursing career, like I was the same way. I was just going out partying, being stupid. But then you've kind of found, like, it seems like almost like a new love, I guess you could say, in fitness. And then obviously seems to be a little transition in like your identity and kind of like where your passion and purpose is starting to head towards. And so, again, I thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing kind of, those dark times. So it sounds like, again, you started to really be authentic with yourself. You started to let it all out and share what you were going through. And then all of a sudden, you see a lot of people reaching out to you, right? Saying like, wow, Lauren, like I went through the same thing. You started to see that relatability. There's actually a lot of people out there. There is like a group of people struggling or went through the same struggles as you, right? So where did that lead you to? Like, as soon as you identified, like, wow, there's other people out there just like me. Where did that go from there?
Yeah, so after I started coaching people online, like, it was several months, I decided to actually go full time into it, because I felt like there was a need for, to help people who are particularly going through, body image struggles, who are going through eating struggles, and just, having gym anxiety, all those things. And how Powerwolf was actually born was that, frankly, in the beginning, I didn't want to call it Lauren Pond Fitness, because I was like, everyone calls it like their name and then fitness. So I'm like, maybe I should just brand it something differently. So that's how I kind of came up with Powerwolf. I was like, let's just make it something creative and different. And keep in mind, in the beginning, it wasn't the concept that it is now, but then I just decided to slap a brand on it and a logo on it. That's just how it started, because that's usually how everyone's like, oh, you got to brand yourself. I'm like, okay, I'll brand myself. So I started.
That's funny. That's how some of the most amazing brands start out. Like, you know what I mean? But but which, by the way, I just realized last night too, Lauren, that there's a P in that logo. I totally did not see that.
Wait, really?
And I'm a pretty observant guy, but I think it's one of the most clever logos I've seen, to be honest. Like, I was looking at it yesterday and I was thinking to myself, holy crap, there's a P in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a huge story behind that, which I was gonna actually get into. So again, back to like the fact that my whole brand was built off my own struggles. The logo is I wish I had, it could show you guys here in the videos, but it's fine. It's the logo is supposed to be a wolf, and there's a P in the middle. So the name is Powerwolf, and the reason why I called it wolf was because I consider myself like an introvert. I consider myself like a lone wolf. I like to do things the way I like to. I like to break rules. I don't really like to follow what everyone else does.
You're a rebel, right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a rebel, and which is why I'm an entrepreneur, and I just feel like I have all that creative freedom. So that's why I put that in my brand. So wolf is because I consider myself a lone wolf, and power because I power lift, and also because I believe that an individual is on its own. If you actually tap into your individuality, you're a very powerful person. So the logo came to be actually the way I found my logo designer, I just decided, I'm just gonna go on the site called Fiverr. I went through like
amazing website. Amazing website.
Yeah. I went on that site and I actually went through like 5 different designers because it just didn't fit well with what I wanted. So I actually went on Instagram and found someone different, and I told him about my concept, about like what I really wanted to see in the logo, because I didn't want it to just like be some random logo. I wanted to have some meaning. Like everything I do has depth to it. I always want to everything I do is intentional.
Absolutely.
So with the logo, I told them, I want something that's clean, simple, and also tells a lot about my story. So in the logo, you see that there is a wolf, and the wolf is looking back. So there's several things that I'm gonna highlight in the logo. The head is turned to the back, symbolizing that my own past of where I'm looking back, and the wolf has a really like ferocious look, or kind of like a really fierce look, saying that looking back on your past and accepting like what has happened, but I'm still moving forward. So you could see in the logo the wolf is kind of like moving forward still.
Yeah,
I
was just gonna say it's like moving forward, but it's kind of looking back, but almost like it's leaving your past behind type of thing.
Exactly.
I love
leaving
it.
your past behind. Yes, exactly. And then the feet are really feminine as well, because I wanted this logo to be catered to both men and women too, but I didn't want it to be too feminine, but also I wanted to have like some femininity to it. Yeah. So the legs are very sleek and long. And then the P, which is in the middle, it's in what's called a negative space. So the P is what symbolizes power. And also my last name is Pawn. So
I was just going to point that out.
Yeah,
what about
exactly.
Pawn?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people pointed out that the wolf actually also looks like my Shiba Inu. So that's also what it represents as well. So there's a lot of meanings behind the logo. And I think that a lot of people can relate to it, which is why a lot of people love our brand, because it's just relatable enough to where everyone's gone through some kind of struggle. Yeah. So I think that it symbolizes not only my own past, but also it can help other people that wear it feel like I can accept myself for the past and my mistakes and everything, and still be able to move forward. So
let me ask you about personal training. I've had a good share of amazing personal trainers on this podcast, and if there's any career that I really, really respect, it's personal trainers. Whether you work at corporate, whether you work at a private training facility, whether it's online, I have the utmost respect for personal trainers. And the reason being is because I have found them to be the most driven, hardworking, innovative people that I've met. Just to kind of highlight you again, is there anything that you feel that you kind of learned from your personal training career, and kind of what you learned about yourself, and then maybe a collective observation about the people that you've trained? Because I understand that you've trained like over 150 clients, which is amazing. Yeah. What are some of the things that you think you've learned about yourself, and maybe about some of your clients too?
About myself, I think that I have the ability to learn really quickly. I think I'm able to adapt to different kinds of people. So what I really love about personal training is that you have to know how to communicate well with another person who has a different background, different personality, and different likes and dislikes. So I learned that I'm able to adapt very well with other people. I think that's something I learned. And
almost like a wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
To their environment.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I pick up different things about people really quickly. So that's why I love personal training. And also my background is in psychology. So I majored in psychology. Nice. So that's why I love being around other people. Yeah. Even though I am an introvert and have difficulty, opening up to people in the beginning, I still enjoy other people's company and learning about, what they go through and everything. Yeah. And I've realized I love seeing people develop, which is why I love, personal training, because I get to take someone from feeling really not confident about themselves to taking them to a point where they're just like, wow, I can actually do something, even though for a long time they were convincing themselves they couldn't do it, like lose weight or be able to lift a barbell. I find that really satisfying. And in terms of what I've learned about other people is that people are more capable of things than they know. Like they're I just think people are really incredible. I've seen people who have, major anxiety, be able to finally overcome like their own mind and like they're saying, I can't do it, to being able to finally be able to accomplish the things that they said they couldn't achieve. So, yeah, I think that's what I've learned. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think, training all those clients, did it kind of translate to kind of everything that you're trying to do with Powerwolf Athletics? Because I think you did say that, you're trying to bridge that gap again, right, of the mental health and fitness. How exactly are you guys doing that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when we first started Powerwolf, again, like when I first started, it wasn't the concept it was now. So
it's evolved, I guess.
It's evolved. It's evolved, exactly. So that's why, even though I started online coaching in 2018, I don't consider Powerwolf itself started until 2019. This is because when I first started online coaching, I was just doing one-on-one, and I coached at least like 25 people, just one-on-one in several months. And then I trained someone named Stephanie, who's currently now the co-founder of Powerwolf as well. And she, she's a really kind person, and she is someone that gets along well with other people too. And when I was training her one-on-one, like you don't get much interaction with any of my other one-on-one clients. And she goes, I know who's going through their struggles, and a lot of them have similarities. And something that she brought up to me was like, I wish I could get to know everyone else that's going through the similar kind of fitness journey, get to hear about their stories and what they're struggling through. Because with one-on-one, even though like they're able to open up a lot to me, like my clients, they don't realize that a lot of the people are going through the similar struggles as them. Many people don't know that other people also struggle as well, which is goes back to the fact that when I was struggling through things, like I didn't know that other people also struggled through similar things as well. So Stephanie and I thought of, why don't we have this become something that's a more collaborative effort, even though I'm the one coaching people. How about we bring people together so they can actually hear other people's stories?
I love it.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it's similar to like what you're doing here, where you're learning from other people's stories. It's giving people like, I am coaching people, but also bringing them together in a cohort where they're able to see each other, be able to validate each other for everything they're going through, and also be able to learn from each other, which is how Powerwolf was built the way it was, where we have, it's almost like a class kind of setting. So we have, we do everything based off cohorts. So our first class is called, we called it Back to Basics. It's called Back to Basics because we want people to learn, foundations of lifting, be able to learn foundations of how to eat within kind of like their lifestyle, so it works well for them. And also back to basics of just communication and being able to share your struggles so you can be able to push yourself further. So we made it kind of, when we first started, we created kind of like a college class. So we call it, it's a similar setup where you have a class and then you have a discussion section. And then you have like office hours and stuff like that. And you do like check-in forums and like homework. And since then it's evolved, but the thing that has made Powerwolf such a strong community and movement is the discussion sections. So that's where what you were saying was where we are actually doing the work where we're bridging mental and physical health and fitness. So in discussion sections, that's where we actually have people open up about like their lifestyle and what they're actually going through, their pain points. So some people, they come in, obviously they're nervous. Like you're talking to other people who are from different countries, different states, complete strangers. They come into this program, they're like, oh, I thought I was just getting fitness coaching, which is just, oh, here's your workouts, here's the meal plan or whatever, right? But in Powerwolf, it's different because we build everything off other people's lifestyle and allow them to open up about what's actually going on and their troubles. So in discussion, people talk about things they like never talk about with anyone else. They talk about, they have how bad of a relationship they have with their food. They talk about their own personal lives, such as like, I just went through a breakup, I just moved, I had a death in the family. And they talk about all these things because it is related to fitness as well, because usually when people have issues in their lives, they usually turn to food or they stop. Their health kind of goes out the window.
There's a decline in their health.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it sounds like, I think it's amazing because what I'm hearing is there's an outlet for these people
Yes.
to kind of discuss their problems, and at the same time it's giving the other members out there like a different perspective, like wow, there are people out there and there are different struggles that not just like me are going through, right? So is there like I mean, aside from obviously the binge eating and this stuff like that, there's obviously clearly other mental health issues that surround like the fitness and all that other good stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What are some of the common stigmas? Because I could, from my nursing background, I know that like there's definitely a lot of mental health stigmas out there. What are some of the things that you see out there that, to give some light to the audience who are still not aware of that? Because I still feel like even till this day, with my 10 years as a nurse, seeing those stigmas, it's like definitely solidified. It's there. It's proven, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like there's a lack of education, a lack of perspective out there. What are some of the stigmas out there that you see with mental health?
I think the stigmas would definitely, I mean, in relation to fitness, right?
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of men that actually come to Powerwolf as well, where they actually have body image issues, and I don't think in the fitness industry, like, men don't really want to talk about it as well, right? The fact that they also struggle with eating disorders as well, or issues around food, having anxiety around food, having difficulty going to the gym. Actually, we've actually had quite a few men who say, like, I actually have gym anxiety. But I never thought that until I started working in Powerwolf, where I was like, wow, I didn't realize that men go through the same thing. But through all of this, I realized that, yeah, actually men need an outlet too.
Yeah, we got issues too, y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, feelings too. Yeah. So I think that was one. I think that's the thing that's been most surprising for me, because in those discussions, we also see that men have really difficulty opening up. They're never really given this platform like that to do that. But I think that's why a lot of men are drawn to Powerwolf, even though, like, I'm a woman. They actually want to have this outlet to speak up.
Do you think it's a sense of masculinity?
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah, which is why, like, the brand I cater it to, like, when you look at Powerwolf, like, it looks like it's neutral, where it could be gender neutral for men and women. But I would love to have more men to coach too, because I think that I give it a really real perspective and tell them, like, hey, it's okay that you're going through these things. And I think some other things that I see too is just people who have anxiety. And again, like, that, I think that's a huge thing too that we try to help solve with fitness. Obviously, we're not therapists. We're not able to help people with more serious issues, but we help them with, like, the issues of just feeling like they're alone, like feeling like they're they're not doing as good as anyone else. So we do, like, scratch the surface of that, but we don't go, like, full dive into it. But it's enough where people are able to finally see that, like, hey, there is hope.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
Yeah. It sounds like, again, there's not many places where people feel like there's an outlet to really share that stuff.
Yeah.
But once you have a platform and you're able to share that, I think, like, obviously it's healthy, right? You begin to identify that you do have these problems. Like a step, it's like a process, right?
Yeah.
You first identify, you have this problem, and then you try to find solutions. With you, it sounded like you did something very courageous. One, you again identified your problems and you started letting it all out. And to me, that's a courageous thing. Is there, like, a step or, like, maybe some advice you could give people out there of how to kind of, be vulnerable? Like, not, I think there's a huge issue out there. Vulnerability, right?
Yes.
I think, like, a lot of people feel like, oh, why do I have to be vulnerable, be obligated to share all my secrets and stuff? But at the same time, it's not just about sharing all your secrets, right? It's more about, like, you're identifying a problem, and now you're trying to find a solution. How do some people kind of gain that courage to even join something like Powerwolf Athletics, to let some of those things out, and and then have a foundation to start taking on those problems?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. I think that has to do with initially trying to communicate that you want someone to just listen to you, right? So it's a concept what we call it's called holding space. So maybe you haven't ever shared something with anyone, like even someone close to you, maybe your girlfriend or, like, best friend. I think it's important to communicate what you think you need. I think everyone's not that great at communicating what they want, right? Sometimes the way we communicate, it comes out with anger, right? Maybe someone said something and you actually feel really hurt, but it comes out like you lash out at them, and, like, it's not communicate properly what you actually need. I think by holding space is a concept that we use in Powerwolf, but it's something that as listeners you guys can use as well. Let's just say you're going to your girlfriend about the fact that you have troubles with your eating, like you're not very happy with how you look, you want to start like making a change in your life. I think it's important to be able to communicate that properly with them, because I think underneath everything, everyone wants to help you and understand what you're going through, but it's important to like be able to tell this person that you really are trying to be vulnerable with, that you're like, hey, I really want to talk to you, like this is not something that's easy for me to share. I would love for you to hold space for me, meaning I don't want you to give me advice, I just need someone to listen to me. Most of the time we already know what we need to do, and other people, it's not out of maliciousness, but I think most people, when they hear someone's problem, they want to immediately help. They were like, you should do this, like give advice, right? Make them feel better. But most of the time, people, when you're already being vulnerable and trying to like express something, usually we just need someone to hear and just understand. So I think before you tell someone something that you're very vulnerable about, just that, I just want you to hold space for me. I just need you. I know you really care about me. And I'm trying to work through it. I would love if you could just hold this space for me to just tell you what's going on with me. But it's scary because you don't know how that person's going to react.
Absolutely.
But that's why it's good to at least, before you say it, tell them like, kind of say like what your expectations are, like going into this conversation. So not just straight up saying, hey, I'm going through this, but because the other person doesn't know how to react, but you're teaching them a little bit of like how you would like to receive help from them.
I think you brought up a very, very critical concept or a critical point here, is that sometimes people, we don't know how to communicate our problems or communicate our issues with others, but in reality our body's communicating. Does that make sense? Our body's communicating, where you may not see it, but when you really look in the mirror, you're actually suffering. So whether you're not, maybe if I'm struggling, Lauren, right? Maybe I'm not expressing it to you, but deep down inside, when I'm home and I'm alone, my body's speaking to me and trying to communicate to me, or even to you. Maybe I might have some nonverbal cues that you may be noticing, and I'm really hurting inside, and there's something wrong. I think it's just great what you guys are doing. You guys are able to, you've built this community, which I think is, I want to dive into that too. Aside from identifying, people who have struggles, who want to be the best versions of themselves with their fitness and, tackle on their mental health issues. How do you think, how many members do you guys have now?
Well, currently we have almost 60 active members.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you also think you and Stephanie have been, shout out to Stephanie, Stephanie Tran. How do you guys think you guys have been very successful at building a community? I think building communities is one of the most overlooked things when in regards to building an organization, a brand, whatever it may be. I think building communities is so huge. How do you think that you guys have been able to build such a pretty successful community?
It's a really good question, and I think anyone who's trying to build a brand should listen up to this part. Everything has to do with your team. It has to do with how strong your team is, and I've heard this from other people too. I know you had Randall pitch on your podcast here before too, and he mentioned that it was his team too, where he was able to build a really strong foundation with them. And you guys just have to be on like the same page, right? So with Stephanie, she has had a huge influence on me, even though she's been my client. She was also my VA at one time, which is a virtual assistant. It's funny because the way we started out, which is a huge part of like how this part goes in terms of how all this came to be and how we built a community, is that when we first started off, I was looking for a virtual assistant off Instagram, and she was a follower just at the time. And she sent me an application. It was just a very powerful application where she was just completely being herself. It wasn't a regular cover letter, like a formal cover letter that you would see, but she sent in a really cool cover letter, which was almost a year ago. And she's probably going to post it in September when from the day that she actually gave it to me. It was just really raw, real, and she's just saying, I just want to be able to help you, because even though I have a full-time job and I actually manage my own part-timers, I just believe in surrounding yourself around people that you look up to, and being around good people, and I just want to help you build your empire. And I was like, wow, like
Almost
That's
angel
cool.
sent, right?
Yeah. I was like, who is this girl? I'm going to get on a call with her. So we actually got on a video call together.
Yeah.
And then she got on the call, and I was looking at her, I'm like, wait, Stephanie Tran? You went to my high school.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I
Crazy.
was like, she looks really familiar. Oh man, like this is gonna be really interesting.
Like same class or?
She was a year older than me,
Okay.
but she was in cross country with me, and we just never talked. But I always knew she was a very smart girl, and I just never talked to her. She looked very friendly all the time, but I always carried a very mean look, and I always just like we were just almost opposites, and I never really talked to her much. But I just knew who she was, so we just kept talking.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was just really funny, and we were talking about like law of attraction and stuff, and how later on I mentioned, hey, I think we went to the same high school together. She's like, yeah, I know, because she followed me, so she followed me because she recognized me from high school.
Isn't it crazy how sometimes you cross paths with somebody that you technically crossed paths in the past, but maybe it just didn't get to that intimate, that time, and then you cross paths again. Now look at you, what you two are doing.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
It was just hilarious. So immediately during that call, like first 5 minutes, I already knew I wanted to hire her.
Yeah.
But I knew something was different about her because on the call, she said, because I think she also wanted to be my client as well. She's telling me about her goals. She's like, yeah, I signed up for an ultra marathon. It's going to happen in May or March, I think. And I was like, what's an ultra marathon? I've never heard of it before. And she's like, it's like almost, sorry, if I get this wrong, I think it's like almost 20-mile run or something, or 30-mile run. And she's like, yeah, I've never even done a triathlon, but I'm just going to make it happen. She's kind of crazy. So I was like, man, this girl is kind of batshit crazy, but I like it. Because who thinks like that? She said, I just believe that if you just, if I just sign up for the ultra, I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. And that's kind of the entrepreneurship thinking where you don't know how you're going to get there, but you're going to make it happen.
You're just a doer.
Yeah, you're just a doer.
Yeah.
So she struck me as someone that's really interesting. And after the first week of working with me, I was like, this girl definitely should not be my assistant. She definitely is doing much more than just the minimum of what I told her to do. She was actually very creative. She came up with like ideas on how to make, my business better and everything. And eventually one thing led to another, and we eventually developed Powerwolf to what it is now, created Back to Basics. And so now she's also a co-founder of Powerwolf. So it's really cool because the reason why I say that your team matters is because the reason why we both came together is because we both saw a reason that we need to build a community around people's struggles, basically. Growing up, she was always the go-to person where people came to when they had issues. Like people came to her when they were going through like their own depression, having issues with their family. She's had multiple friends who have told her about their suicide attempts, and she's always been the person that people come to listen to. She's like people's guardian angel, basically. And she's always been the person that is just very caring and knows how to be a really good listening ear, which is why she's a huge part of Powerwolf, where like she's taught me how to communicate well with people too. And on the mental health side, like she was trying to be a psychologist as well. She ended up with a bio degree, ended up also like wandering aimlessly for a few years after she graduated from school. And so both of us were on similar paths where we wanted to help people through their own struggles. And my way was through fitness. And hers was, she's also building her own fitness, but she also has such a huge background in helping other people, like her friends and her own community, that we came together saying, this is what's needed. This is how we're going to bridge, mental and physical health and give people a different method than just, the traditional therapy or traditional, like, just going to see someone else when they're already in a really difficult place, and actually just in order to solve your I guess like whatever's going on in your life, your mental health issues, we can utilize fitness as a way to help bring people up and help them build themselves up again. So,
they say in the business world, some of the most clever, to be successful or to be innovative, you have to find a problem and then find a solution. Right? Identify a problem and find a solution. So it's exactly what you and Stephanie did in that, there's people with struggles, and then you bridge that with the community, and now you have this the snowball effect of what you guys are trying to do. It's pretty impressive. Like I said, it's been very, very honorable, and just, just being able to see your growth since the event that, back in St. Louis. It's just crazy.
Thank you.
I want to ask you again, because I hate to keep going back to my nursing career,
No, it's
but
fine.
you know what? In nursing, we identified that, wow, there's a lot of diseases, a lot of illnesses out there, both mentally and, physiologically and all that good stuff. So a big part of focus was preventative health. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So of course, preventative health, in a holistic approach, but at the same time, preventative health. Is that something that you guys focus on too, preventative health, and obviously that holistic approach? You guys focus on that as well?
Yeah,
right?
that's what we focus on as well. Because I think even as personal trainers, like the reason why a lot of us get into this is because not just to build your body, but also to help people with their health issues or prevent any of that stuff. So it is something that that is part of the reason why we built it out the way we did. Because I think we want to help people who are in our generation, particularly people who are in their 20s or 30s. We want to help them prevent any diseases that might come along as they get older. We want people to think long term. I think in our generation, we think that everything is gonna be perfect forever, or we think that, especially after college, like, I'm just gonna get a job, just start family, and everything's good, right? We don't experience enough suffering sometimes, and again, like, we live in a society where you have Instagram and everything and social media where everything seems like it's perfect, nothing's wrong. But deep down, like, we're all struggling through something that we need help to overcome, which is where the mental health aspect comes in. So which is why bridging the two with Powerwolf is so powerful, because we're able to address a lot of different issues that people may have, which is why it's a very holistic approach, which is why it's really hard to describe exactly why Powerwolf is so special, is because we're tackling so many things, which is, helping people overcome confidence issues, having issues with meeting new people, because in Powerwolf, you're supposed to meet random people, and you're supposed to help build up your communication skills, learn to be patient with the process, because fitness, guys, is not fast. Getting to the dream body of yours does not happen in just 10 weeks. It takes forever. So teaching this generation and other 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds that it's going to take a while. You need to build up the skills in order to be able to thrive on your own. And that's why fitness is something you have to actively work on, actively build the skills to keep yourself healthy, because you can't just go through a program and be like, all right, I'm good. I lost all the weight. Now what? Right? They usually just go off, and most of the time people regain the weight because they haven't built the skills they need to be able to carry them long term. So that's what we're really trying to tackle, is teaching people the long-term mentality you need to continue to stay healthy, continue to maintain it, even when you're struggling through, maybe changing a job, or, losing a family member, or just anything you may be going through, teaching them to have some grit, to have some discipline. So that's what we do with Back to Basics. It's an accelerated class where you really do a deep dive into a lot of things, and people come out getting more than just, learning how to lose a little weight or just fixing the relationship with food. They realize that, wow, like, with all these new skills I have, being more disciplined and being patient, like, what else can I accomplish? So which is why we built a new program, which is the bridge program for Back to Basics, which is our 10-week class, into a more long-term class, which is Powerwolf Legion. So that is a 1-year commitment. And whenever people hear, like, oh my God, it's a year commitment, like, that's insane. I don't want to commit that long, but we've built it out so well in Back to Basics that we get people to really, really think long-term and what else they want to accomplish, that in the Legion, not only are we talking about how to maintain and sustain your fitness, but also help them develop as people. So it's more of health and self-development in the Legion, where now that you have all this discipline, now that you have all this confidence and this drive now to accomplish more things, what can you build with your life now? Like, what dreams are now possible for you?
I'm glad you brought this all up, because I was just about to ask you what are some of the issues that you guys tackle, and I didn't want to start getting very personal, but I'm glad you brought it up. But I wanted to ask you too, besides compassion, are there anything that people can do right now to stay away from fostering the stigma of mental health? Is it like listening more? Is it I don't know, maybe speaking to people that they may identify might have a problem? To me, from my world, I think compassion's huge. Is there anything else that you feel that other people could do to help that?
So I think that it's going to be an ongoing battle with trying to end the stigma against mental health. I think that, again, the concept of holding space is something that's pretty new. People don't really know what that is. Learning how to actually hold space is important, meaning that you're able to listen to someone who has an issue that maybe is small in your eyes, but it's big for them, like such as, being able to look at food and not eating it. Maybe for you that's easy, like managing your own relationship with food, but looking at someone else and recognizing that, hey, the person that is in front of me is struggling and their struggle is valid, even though I don't understand. Being able to hold space and tell people, like, I understand your pain, and trying to not give people advice, I think is the best way you can actually be able to actively try to end stigma against mental health. I think it's just an ongoing process. I think that just
not easy.
It's not easy, right? Again, which is why in Powerwolf we teach people how to actually communicate properly. Again, like when you start a new lifestyle, when you're trying to shift and change, people around you don't understand, which is what happened in college with me, which is people didn't understand why I built a new lifestyle. They don't get it, and they don't know how to communicate properly, that, like, they feel they don't like that you're not hanging out with them anymore or whatever. So I think compassion is definitely one, to help start ending the stigma against mental health, but another one is holding space, which is something you have to really learn and be able to recognize when someone is in pain, and even though you don't truly understand, just tell them, like, I understand. And being able to just give them that space to just talk to you, instead of just throwing in your personal experience into it too, just allowing them to speak. And always basically giving them the mic the whole time, instead of you bringing it back to yourself, because I think everyone likes to talk about themselves a lot, right?
I'm a podcaster, I wouldn't know.
Because I think everyone's experienced this before, where you're telling them about an issue and then all of a sudden they start talking about their issue, and they go off like long trails about like the problem they're going through, and they forget to bring it back to you. And I don't think that this is on purpose. I think that everyone does want to like jump in and just share their own experiences. But again, it's always giving the other person the mic, showing more interest in them instead of talking about you. So I think that's the next thing that helps a lot. Because again, the reason why people don't want to share anything is because they feel like they're either going to be judged, or they feel like the other person is just going to be like, it's like whatever.
Intimidated, judged. They might feel isolated.
Exactly.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you real quick.
Okay, sure.
No, sure. You know what? When I think of Lauren, and I obviously follow you on Instagram. When I see the stuff that you post, you're very raw, you're authentic, you're transparent. But really, I don't know why these words come to my head. When I think of you, I think of a very fierce and fearless leader. And I'm sure a lot of people look up to you from the outside, and I'm sure a lot of women look up to you too. What are some of the things that you think have helped you become that leader? Because I really do feel that way about you. And I feel, what are some maybe tips or advice that you could give other people, maybe particularly even women, to emerge as leaders, like the leaders that they know they're able to be, but they just kind of can't get over that next step, I guess.
Oh man. So actually, in terms of tips, or
just
first
submit
off,
tips, or maybe just experience.
Yeah, sure. So actually recently I started really opening up more about my dad. So I think a lot of my fierceness comes from him. And my background with my parents is really, really different from most people. I'm my dad's youngest daughter. He's currently 91. He is a lot older than most people's parents. And I think growing up, I was really also embarrassed about that, because I was like, oh man, like every time someone sees my dad, they're like, oh, that's your grandpa. And my mom, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's your mom and her dad. I'm like, no, that's actually my dad. And it's a little weird. And I think like I didn't get close to him growing up, and I wish I was closer to him. But recently I started talking to him more about like his past, because my dad was actually an entrepreneur too. So my dad came to the US with nothing really. He had no support. His dad fell ill when he was 15. He actually was in World War II. He was stationed in Seoul, Korea when he was 19. The guy was a cook, and he was there. He barely knew English. I think during that time in World War II, they just took anyone. They didn't care if you really knew English. They're just like, all right, fight for us, whatever, right? So he's been through a lot. He's been through a ton of struggles. He had to have extreme grit, of course, because he didn't know English, and then he traveled around the U.S., like, SF, Idaho, which was where I was born, in Texas, and he was a cook, really low paying cook. Like, he's being paid like 25 cents or so. I forgot what the number was, but per hour. And he had to, basically struggle through a lot and build a lot of grit, because there's a lot of people that, basically backstabbed him. He opened a restaurant. Some of his family members walked out on him. And he was able to build a really, really successful restaurant, of like 16 years, and he had to work 16 to 17 hour days. His first daughter, Linda, she had to, while him and his wife were working, wife at the time was working, Linda was sleeping on a sack of potatoes while they were working, because they couldn't afford to have, obviously, a babysitter, anyone to look after her. So I've always wondered where my entrepreneurship background came from, and like why I'm so driven to do things is because of him. And I never put two and two together until recently, because I don't know why I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and always want to tap into creativity and solve problems, is because of him. Because, back then, when you don't have anything, you don't really know, you can't even speak the language, no one's gonna here to support you, people are walking out on you, people are backstabbing you, and like taking your money and everything. You have to have built something within yourself. You have to have like built some grit, some relentlessness, and resilience in order to be, where he is now. So I'm very fortunate to have had a dad, and have a dad who is, still alive and still very well, actually, to have taught me all these things. And I think I got it all from him. And yeah, I think that's where it comes from. In terms of tips, I think,
what are some things you think women can do right now to kind of get out of their shell and just, really take control maybe of their life, and be that leader that they kind of know that they have. They just, might just need to take an extra step. Is it kind of like being maybe being a little more vulnerable, maybe, putting themselves out there? What, what do you think?
I think,
and I only put those out because from what I see from an outside perspective, and now that you bring your dad into it, now I could see it, obviously, but from what I see, like from you, I could see why you've become like such a great leader, is because you're able to speak well, you're able to bring people together. Again, that has to do with confidence, communication. There's so many different things I see, but I feel like there's still people out there who are struggling to kind of just take that extra step for that leadership role, I guess you could say. Is there anything else that you think that other people could do?
I think for me, well, just using my personal experiences, I started following people who really were also fully themselves. So someone that really struck out to me, I actually only discovered him this year, which is Andy Frisella. I have never heard someone be so raw and real. He cusses a lot on his podcast. He has a really popular podcast called the MFCEO. I think after being exposed to him, because I know deep down, like, I have this fire and drive where I don't see, unfortunately, in a lot of other women, where they're all just like rainbows and sunshine, and they're all just like feminine fire and all this bullshit. No offense to all y'all girls. Like, I don't see, there's not a lot of women I relate to, unfortunately. Like, I listen to, like, I see a lot of podcasts which a lot of women put out, and it's always about like feminine power and like go me, and like just a lot of too much positivity. I think for me, again, this is just from my personal experience, is that I just was never really inspired by too many women, because I always try to think of someone that really inspires me, but no one is as like raw and cusses as much as I do, and like is willing to be truly herself, I think, which is why with Andy, like, he was being really raw and real, and just, he just kind of doesn't give a fuck, and that's kind of how I am too. He tells it as it is. He tells it as it is. Sometimes he could be a little bit much, but I think that really brought out, it allowed me and gave me the opportunity to, and basically permission slip to just be myself. I think it came off as a surprise to a lot of people, because even when I was younger, I feel like a lot of that aggression came out too. Like, I was a very angry child. I think when I was a kid, I used to kind of bully people too. I didn't really consider it bullying, but I guess it was afterwards because I made people like do stuff as a kid, and I wasn't exactly the nicest. But I think, again, I think following people that really, really resemble you deep down is really important. It happened for me to come from a big white dude that likes to cuss and just completely be himself, right? Because I think and the reason why I'm here trying to be myself and trying to be different and not and like say things the way they are is because, again, with women, I think that there's not enough women who are trying to do what I'm doing, which is completely being themselves, and trying to really break out of like the typical like woman who's just trying to be very soft and very like gentle. And I don't mind that. I think that there's different strokes for different folks. I think a lot of women do like to follow leaders like that who are super, super kind and like dress a certain way and everything. But for me, I never resonated with that, which is why, with like a lot of women are very colorful and everything. For me, I liked wearing black. I like wearing neutral colors. Even for the Powerwolf symbol, like it's like, no, I'm not gonna have any kind of like rainbows. I'm not gonna have any kind of color on it. It's just gonna be black and white, and that's just how it is. So for me, I think, again, follow people that really resemble what the kind of qualities that you want. For me, it was more because my dad is the way he is. That's why I gear more towards like seeing more men as people I look up to. So I think that's what I would suggest, is to just look at the qualities that you see in someone else. It could be me, it could be someone like Andy, where you really like that they're a certain way, and try to start expressing that, and be okay with the fact that a lot of people aren't gonna like it, but you will attract people who do resonate with you. Yeah,
I think it's powerful what you're saying. It's not everyone's different, and there's no right or wrong, but align yourself with somebody that you feel like, whether that's a mentor, listening to podcasts, whatever it may be. Align yourself with someone that you align yourself with the qualities and everything that you're about. Because I could already see, you get the stuff from your dad, and I could see why you probably listen to NFC. What I mean? So
exactly.
So that's awesome. So just, I don't know if, what you're able to share. What's kind of next for Powerwolf Athletics? What's coming up? I know we could talk about the event, but I know you shared with me briefly a while back that there are some exciting things coming up with your organization. What are some of the things that you could share with us that's happening, and the event that's coming up?
Sure. So we have a gala coming up in October, and the reason for this is because, again, in everything that we do in Powerwolf, it's all online. It's all based off of Instagram. It's based off the brand that we built through that platform. And with the discussion sections, it's again where we're holding space and allowing people to really be vulnerable and share their stories and be able to inspire other people too. So in the gala, what we're trying to do is actually have a physical space for people to actually do that. So we actually have some people flying in from different countries who are, who like from Canada, some people coming from Hawaii, some people from Texas. They're coming in because, they relate to wanting to share their own story and be someone that's seen and heard, and to know that like their own story matters. So the whole point of the event, and the way we set it up, is to be able to hold space for everyone else. So our tagline is, we hold space for others. The point is to be able to have everyone kind of like sit and be able to hear from other people's stories and hear from the struggles that they go through. We also have artwork as well, where people can have like their own creative way of expressing themselves, whatever struggles they've been through. Like, we allow it to be open for others. And we want that to be a very like freeing and like liberating kind of event, where you can seriously learn a lot from other people. And for the people that are going to be speaking, whoever chooses to speak, they're able to be able to have this platform where they can actually see that, wow, my story actually matters. Even though a lot of us think like, oh, I have nothing important to share, there's nothing great about me and everything. But truthfully, your own story and owning your own story and the past that you've overcome, and the struggles that you have had to go through to become who you are now is very important. And your kind of struggle is going to impact other people as well. So The point of that is so that you can actually see these people in real life and be able to connect with them and build stronger connections with others. Because I think by me just sitting here and telling you all this stuff, or like anyone that's listening, I'm pretty sure you feel a lot closer to me now because I've been sharing with you things that you probably relate to. And that's what we want to build here. We want to build true connections with other people. We want people to know they're not alone, and know that, past college as well, you're able to build strong friendships in something like Powerwolf, where we really hold the space for you to own your story, to own everything you've been through. So that's what we're trying to do there. And we also have a kamayan, which is Filipino food, and it's yeah, and it's gonna be really fun because you eat with your hands, and everything we've built with the event is very intentional. The reason why we're eating with our hands and having a feast is because, again, food is something that we believe brings people together, right? Which is why with Powerwolf and the way we teach people to eat is not something that's very restrictive. We teach people to eat based off like their own lifestyles, because we both come from cultural backgrounds. I'm Chinese, and food is something that's very important, and something that is part of like an event, and part of what it's kind of like a collaborative effort for everyone, where when you eat together, you feel more closer to the person you're sharing food with. So that's why we made it like that, instead of having just spaghetti and steak where everyone just has like their own meal. So that was very intentional to have the kamayan. I've never had it, but Stephanie said that it's super good, so I'm excited for that. And the way it's going to be set up is we're going to have like bean bags everywhere. We're actually going to have cocktails and stuff to let everyone relax. It's actually a very intimate it's going to be a very intimate event, where it's not going to be that many people, probably less than 100 people, where we're really going to allow people to really get to know each other and make everyone that, many of them are coming out alone. We want them to really feel like they are part of something, that they feel home and that they feel safe to be there. So we're really excited for that event. We think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. I'm excited to be able to shake everyone's hand, because for me to come to an event like this, it would be very terrifying if I didn't know anyone or just knew one person. Like some people found me off Instagram. They're just like, I only know Lauren. I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, you don't know everybody else. Yeah, and I'm trying to make it so that people don't feel so intimidated, and that they feel welcome, and that they feel like they are someone. So I plan on shaking everyone's hand that comes out. I plan on making them feel like home, because I feel like that's part of my nature, to always be able to serve others and be able to help others.
Nice. So when is this event again?
October 5th.
October 5th.
Yes.
And when's the last call to buy tickets?
It's gonna be August 31st. So you guys have about like 9 days to buy the tickets.
August 31st?
Yeah. I don't know if you're gonna put out the podcast by then, but
I gotta do some OT tonight.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really great. But yeah, our tickets are almost sold out. I really hope that people can come out. Even if you guys are just driving from really far, it's greatly appreciated. I think you guys would get a lot of value from it. And also, it's a nonprofit event. What we're trying to do also is, again, with ending the stigma against mental health, we're also trying to donate half of the ticket to the National Suicide Hotline. So that is something we're also in favor of as well. So it's just gonna be a really great night. Yeah,
I love it. Man, see, I love everything that you guys are doing. Again, now it sounds like whether you're able to get some more people to attend through the event, but it sounds like this is definitely going to be an ongoing event that you guys want to do. Again, right? To bring people together, to have it an open platform for everybody to feel welcomed, all the members, and then give back to mental health again.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
so awesome.
Thank
I'm so
you.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick before we end, I usually ask all my guests this, and I always tell myself I gotta ask a different question. But you know what? Everyone's so different and so unique and so amazing. Again, that's the reason why I ask you guys to come on to the podcast. What's really your what's next for you? What's like your legacy? What do you want? What do you want your legacy to say about you?
It's a good question. What do people usually say?
You know what? It's been different. Everyone, And you know what's funny? Just to give you a little insight, I had someone ask me that recently. And you know what? I actually said, I don't know. I used to think I knew, but I think because we're evolving all the time, and we cross paths with different people, And there's just so many different things that could happen in the future. You know, the uncertainty and the future's bright. You know, the opportunities that we seize. I kind of don't know. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I think any answer is great. You know what I mean? You know, and I used to want like I want to do this. I want to be known for that. Like, you know, it's so everyone's different. That's me personally. Yeah. But what do you think? I mean,
I think, the reason why I came into all of this was because, I suck at science, I suck at math and all those things. So I couldn't be a nurse, I couldn't be a doctor or anything. So I chose to go the preventative health side. So I really want to help transform the healthcare industry. I think there needs to be a lot of work to be done in terms of how we're helping people. I think there's way more ways to actually help people than just once they're already in needs to be taken care of in a hospital. I think, helping people, be able to stay healthy and be able to keep their mental health in check and be able to live lives where they can actually be able to also be a huge part of their own communities, I think is really important, which is why, this is the first time I'm ever saying this publicly, but I would love to open a hospital which is mainly for preventative health. So people that are helping in terms of we're gonna have nurses, we're gonna have OTs, we're gonna have PTs who are helping people actively working on one person, which is having an entire team behind a single person and helping them with helping them with preventative care. And I don't know how that would be structured. I don't know how exactly everything would pan out, but it would be really great to have something really innovative like that, where we are helping people before they get into a state of breaking their leg or just, God forbid, have some kind of disease that is not curable. That's what I would really dream of.
Nice. Yeah. Dude, I love it. Well, you know, as you said, as an entrepreneur, we don't worry about the how. We just do it.
Exactly.
So eventually, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a way to do it, whether it's opening up a clinic, whether it's opening up a hospital, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, I'll be there to support. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ejay.
So,
appreciate it.
So before we end, where can everybody find you if they want to reach out to you? The website, maybe where they could buy tickets if I get this episode out of time.
So you can find me on Instagram at Lauren Pon. My last name is PON, LAURENPON. And then powerwolfathletics.com is where you guys can buy the tickets. And Powerwolf Athletics is also the handle for our Instagram page.
All right. Lauren Pon in the building, everybody. I appreciate you again coming on the podcast. Guys, again, the Parables, it's really what I like to call a beacon or a portal for a positive influence and positive energy. Anything you guys can take away from our conversations here, hopefully you guys could use it and apply it and become the best version of you. Guys, website's still up. If you're interested in supporting, shop.ejcruz.com. Do me a favor, if you guys are listening to this episode, please tag me and Lauren. Let us know what you think. Share, screenshot, whatever it may be. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, Lauren, you guys, I only have legends sign my canvas. So please, if you could sign my beautiful canvas here.
Yes, definitely.
I greatly appreciate it. Yes. Parables Podcast with Lauren Pon. We are out. Thank you.
Peace, guys.
Thank you.